Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities and Music, something music reviews. Let's review the second album from Hospitality, Untitled Trouble. What do you think? Good idea? Bad idea?
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Well, we have been listening to it all week.
Yeah, we might as well talk about it
all week. We review 4 albums a week. Just let's sprinkle a little bit of about Velocities and Music, about Jake and Tom's life.
Yeah.
Tom and I, we both live in Ames, Iowa, and we review 4 albums a week. We listen at the end of filming on Tuesday afternoons. We pick 4 albums to review for the next week, and then we listen to them about 5 times each, and then come for you guys and turn on a camera in my shed in my yard. That's what happens.
Yep.
And it's a little warm here today.
It is a little bit warm.
So let's review Hospitality's Trouble, their second album. Tom, how would you describe Hospitality's sound?
Well, I'm going to give it the very general moniker of indie rock.
Oh, indie rock.
Now, let's talk about...
What the hell does that mean?
Exactly. What does it mean in this case? Well, you have a female vocalist primarily.
Yeah, you do.
First off. Very guitar-based sound. Not necessarily like crunchy distortion. A lot of clean guitar. Kind of nice movements. One thing instrumentally that these guys do on this album a lot are nice piano accents.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, and really I think a lot of the guitar, if I had to compare it to a band, I would say the guitar reminds me a lot of Grizzly Bear from time to time.
Sure.
And every once in a while the songwriting style does a little bit too. Now, I think that one thing I want to point out, you mentioned female vocalists, and I feel like there's a lot of indie acts out there right now, indie rock acts, that are utilizing a female vocalist, and it gives the band kind of this more endearing, sentimental vibe, and I think it's just because of the falsetto that female vocalists just generally project. You really don't have a lot of, well, I guess there are some, but there's not a lot of deep-voiced women out there, women vocalists. Now, it's not to say we haven't reviewed them, because we've reviewed plenty.
Sure have. Yeah.
But I feel like this person's vocals remind me a lot of the Joy Formidable.
Yeah, I could see
from
that.
time to time, just a little bit softer.
I got some White Oak sometimes.
Yeah, White Oak is a great example too. And I'd say there's just a lot of just really nice sounding guitar, crunching guitar. Sometimes they keep it a little bit more airy, but really I think that what amazed me about this record is that I feel like from the moment that you put it on until 10 tracks later, I mean, this is a decently, I'd say it's a reasonable size to this. It's about 40 minutes long, something like that. You get to the end of this record and you don't even realize the journey you were just brought on.
Yeah.
It does not end where it starts.
No, it moves along at a good pace. There's a lot of variety on here, but it still feels like an album. That's really what the appeal was to me in this one. When I listened to it for the first time, this is something that I think it's a trait that's very hard to put your finger on. It's very hard to describe, but I just feel like I listen to a lot of indie rock bands out there that I feel like are having kind of an identity crisis. Like they're trying too hard to be a certain kind of sound that they've determined, and it comes off feeling forced and unnatural. One thing that I always got the impression on when listening to this album that really made me like it is that I just feel like these guys have absolute control over their sound and style, and a confidence in what they're doing. Whether they're doing a kind of pulsing synth pop thing like Last Words, track 8, whether they're doing something a little bit softer like Sullivan or Sunship, they can really do it all, and they do it while still sounding confident. Nothing sounds accidental at all.
Well said. And I think that what takes this further is that most of these songs aren't just simple indie songs. These are well thought out compositions. These are sprawling in structure, yet they never sound overtly experimental. It's just these tracks are full of ideas, and the way that Hospitality goes about transitioning each piece of the song to the next idea is actually quite fluid and beautiful, and I think that the key, the thing that kind of sold it to me, was that it's just so subtle how each track transitions amongst the different segments of the track, and then each track transitions with the other tracks as the album progresses. This album starts off with track 1, Nightingale, being just big guitars, and it has almost a grunge tinge to it, and I'd say the first 3 tracks kind of set this up to be a little bit more rocky. I mean, I Miss Your Bones, track 3, is just crunchy guitars, driving bass, and it has that strange time signature. Did you always key on time signature?
Yeah,
what were they doing there?
Rhythms. I don't know exactly,
it's
but I know
they were
they
just
mix
dropping
it up
a beat
in a cool,
every few measures or something, but it just made a cool rhythm to it.
For sure.
I mean, it almost had a march feel to it, but then a really nice chorus, and how that they were able to make these amalgamated song segments segments into just a cohesive song just boggles my mind. They did a great job on just perfecting that presentation. As you mentioned, they get into this little like 80s new wave synth production styling on some tracks, and I think it gives a kind of a cooler tinge to those songs and a nice variety amongst the album.
It definitely sets them apart. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier Last Words, which was by far my favorite track on this album. And to be honest, I don't even really know why. There's just something about that song.
It's a cool sound.
It is. And not only is it set apart from the style and the rest of the album, but not only that, but also the mood that it affects from that style.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very different. The way that the song goes is kind of verse, chorus. You have that kind of odd, like, male singer in the chorus. It gives it kind of a cool vibe. And then the end is just this, like, meandering guitar solo. Yeah. It's very progressive. It's very kind of noisy and cool effects on it. So that right there is just this little like oasis of different sound in the album.
And that's the longest song in the album at 6.5 minutes. Now, I think one of our collective favorite tracks that we both picked is track 5, Rockets and Jets, which that was one of those 80s new wave produced songs. I really like the guitar in that song in particular, but it just had this, it almost reminded me of Wolf Parade's second album, At Mount Zoomer. And if you've ever listened to that, you know that like that was very much a guitar-driven, progressive songwriting sort of indie rock record. And I think it was a cool style that's been done very few times that I've heard, and yet still in this vein of indie rock. I gotta admit, if there's one thing I had to criticize this album about, it's the fact that it didn't blow me away at any certain point. It never knocked me off my feet, and it was almost too subtle. Like, what they were doing, while impressive, I never really came off the listen going, oh yeah, that was totally awesome what they just did to me. It's like going on like a little boat voyage through like the jungle and then just coming off and being like, I don't really remember what just happened. Like you were drunk at the time or something.
You were drunk.
Like,
you were hammered.
Like just took way too many pills of some sort and like you just blacked out that entire period. This album has that kind of hazy effect on you. And I don't know if you had that same experience.
Yeah, you know, a little bit. I could see that.
It took until like I started digging into it and like really picking the different aspects of each track apart to really understand what they were doing and how they were doing it, and then it kind of made sense of it, but still it had that effect. I don't know.
No, that makes perfect sense. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, nothing really goes over the top with this. Nothing. There's no moments where you're like, oh, holy crap. You know, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah,
the whole way
it's totally
through.
enjoyable, and I'm going to come back to this, I think, for the rest of the year and really enjoy it going forward too. That's a mark of a good album to me, so I think I'm going to give this an 83.
I'm also going 83.
Oh well, why don't you copy me some more, Tom?
Oh, well, why don't you copy me some more, Tom?
Well played. 83 from Velocities of Music is an album that we would definitely recommend for you, and actually it ends a drought of non-must-listen albums.
It's true.
Actually, I think that technically Weird Al Yankovic did, but we've had a drought of not having a lot of 80 caliber albums for you guys, and anything above 81 and above is an album that we would put as a must-listen record for the year for you guys. So go out, listen to Hospitality's second record, Trouble. Let us know your experience, and just overall, how does the sound affect you? And leave us a comment at www.velocitiesofmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesofmusic. Now, as always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know if there's any records you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.